primetime game in Minneapolis. Nuggets, Timberwolves tonight on ABC with Minnesota leading 2-1. And this man will be on the call, Tim Legler. So much fun listening to you during these NBA playoffs. So, Tim, walk us through this because Jokic and Murray combining to shoot under 28% in this one. We don't know what Aaron Gordon's status is going to be. How do they get their groove back against the Wolves?
Well, Hannah, there's no other way to put it than this team was manhandled the other night. And I thought from the very beginning of the game, I saw something that's very rare out of a championship caliber team like the Nuggets are. They were put on their heels from the very beginning. It didn't look like their level of force was appropriate for this environment. And I thought defensively, individually, man-to-man, they were too weak and soft at the point of attack. They were getting beat off the dribble repeatedly. The force that Minnesota played with defensively, the pressure all over the floor really disrupted Denver's offense. Comes down to this. I really believe their two best players are the two guys that can overcome this level of defensive intensity and pressure. They're going to have big games because I think if they have a better start offensively than Minnesota, then walking the ball up a little bit more, Denver getting set, not having the ball pushed at them the way it was in the first quarter. I think the start is critical to the game. Denver was the number one offense in the league. That's where they have to hang their hat. They've got to execute on that and allow their defense to be more equipped to handle the pressure that Minnesota put on them. But they just got to be tougher. They were not tough enough the other night. They know it.
I mean, and Ant-Man played less than 24 minutes in that one, right? And we still saw the result. So let's go to the other half of the bracket. The Lakers 22-8 in clutch games in the regular season. You were talking about it all season long. What a clutch team they are. And then look what they do last night in Houston, trailing with 30 seconds to go by 6. And here they are with a 3-0 lead. What did you make of this latest clutch performance? What really struck you about what they were able to do last night?
Well, from their perspective, I think, Hannah, the thing that stands out is they still had belief like that late in the game. After the Şengün breakaway dunk and Rockets go up 6, it's not looking like this team is going to win that game, but they stayed ready and they stayed with their pressure and they forced a couple of turnovers. Now, to me, absolutely inexcusable that Houston didn't close out that game. You can't possibly play worse late when you're just trying to secure a lead and make some free throws to win than the Rockets did in this game. But the Lakers were there. They were ready, and they didn't panic when they did force those couple of turnovers. They didn't take quick forced shots. Marcus Smart draws the foul, and then on the 3 that LeBron hit, it's a really good play by Luke Kennard. He would have had a very tough contested shot if he let it fly. Goes back to LeBron, has the patience for the pump fake, and then knock it down. So they played with poise, and they continued to believe. I think that was the biggest thing. But from Houston's perspective, it's an absolute meltdown. There's just no other way to describe that. That has to be a game in which the Rockets win it and give themselves life thinking, hey, now we can get it to 2-2 in game 4.
Yeah, and listen, not having KD, that's not an excuse when you look across at your opponent missing their 2 leading scorers from the regular season. All right, so let's go on to the young San Antonio Spurs who were without Victor Wembanyama. They go on the road. They get a win. Castle and Harper were unbelievable. They're going to be such a problem for years to come. How important was that kind of win for this young team?
Huge, because you're talking about, you lose game 2, you go on the road without Wemby. Portland as a team, I really, really like the way they've played over the last couple months of the season. They're tough, they defend. So if they win game 3 and they go up 2-1, like you're feeling now, if you're the Portland Trailblazers, we have a chance to legitimately win this series because they still would have had home court advantage. So that's why this win was so important to reestablish control, immediately retake home court advantage. And you saw those young guards. Look, make no mistake about it. Stephon Castle is a former rookie of the year. There's no doubt that he's eventually going to be an all-league caliber player. Dylan Harper's a future star. There is no doubt about it. The minutes he's gotten this year, the impact he's had, this was a little bit different to have this type of scoring burst because he doesn't usually get that many scoring opportunities. But how can you not be so impressed with this young team and immediately going on the road and taking control of the series once again.
And how can you not think ahead to the trouble that they could give OKC, right?
For sure.
Anyway, before I let you go, I have to talk about the New York Knicks and one of the great stories this season. CJ McCollum is just like the guy he was traded for, right? Trae Young. He's a Knick killer in this series, back-to-back game-winning shots. What adjustments do the Knicks need to make on both ends of the floor before they're really out of this series?
Well, I think a couple. I think for one, and I've been saying this since game one, their biggest advantage they have is Karl Anthony Towns offensively. There is no real matchup that Atlanta can throw at him. He's physically dominated, 56% from the floor, but he's only taking 12 shots a game. That has to change. I think that needs to be the point of emphasis for the Knicks. And I know that they like to just play in the flow and they want Karl Anthony Towns to find his spots organically, offensively. I think there needs to be a little bit more of a predetermined mindset that they're going to get him the ball in spots where he can operate and collapse the Hawks defense. And then on the other end of the floor, I just think they have to be more selective at who ends up on CJ McCollum, particularly if you're in a tight game in the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson's going to do his thing on the other end, but defensively, he's being attacked. And CJ McCollum is in a great rhythm. You're going to have to make sure you've got the defender on McCollum that you want late in the game. Because right now, Atlanta has a tremendous amount of confidence against this team and that they're going to win this series. Game 4, absolutely critical for the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible pickup at the trade deadline. I mean, McCollum was doing commentary here on SportsCenter not too long ago, and now we're talking about him being a key in this series. Legs, looking forward to your call tonight. We can't wait. And thanks for, getting up early and hanging with us. We appreciate it. Back to the NBA playoffs. The Thunder at the Suns. Thunder lead the series 2-0, and NBA reporter Tim McMahon joins us now. So, Tim, Jalen Williams left game 2, as we saw in the third quarter, with a hamstring injury. He's not going to play today in game 3. What is a realistic timeline that J-Dub could be back with this latest injury?
Howdy, Hannah. He's going to be reevaluated weekly. This is a grade 1 left hamstring strain. As Mark Daigneault said, that's about the best news that the Thunder could hope for. So very likely that he's out the remainder of the series. Let's be honest, the Thunder hope this series doesn't last more than another week. And then his status going into the second round is certainly going to be a storyline that we are following very closely. The unfortunate thing is he's had such a rough season with all the injuries. He was spectacular in the first 6 quarters of the postseason before he had this hamstring issue.
Yeah, just so disappointing. They do have a lot of practice playing without him, as you mentioned. He missed a ton of games, and they did go 39-10 in the regular season without him. Can we talk about Devin Booker for a moment? Because he went off after game 2 on the officiating. Among other things, he said, and I quote, "People are going to start viewing this as WWE if they're not held responsible," close quote. Obviously, he's talking about the refs, and he was fined $35,000. Listen, and I know he was teed up and all of that in game 2, but this is just a familiar narrative that we've heard from other teams about Oklahoma City specifically this season. How much of it is valid from your perspective?
Okay, this is the hot seat, huh?
Yes, it is.
Listen, Devin Booker, I understand why he was upset. And the technical foul was rescinded. WWE, you have to explain to me why the NBA would be scripting for Oklahoma City to be a potential dynasty. Last I checked, it's not the biggest market in the world. Now, what I will say is the Thunder are an extremely frustrating team to play against and a very difficult team to officiate. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a superstar who excels at getting to the free throw line. There's an art there. He has mastered that art. That frustrates opponents. They are the best defense in the league. They are extremely handsy. They are physical. This is like the Legion of Boom, the old Seattle Seahawks defense. You want to throw a flag every play? It's that sort of thing. So I get the frustration from opponents. I'm going to say I think that the 56-11 difference in points off of turnovers has been a bigger factor in this series than the whistles that were or weren't blown. And by the way, the Phoenix Suns will be the first to admit that as well. Yeah,
super quickly, just in a nutshell, why is SGA so skilled at drawing fouls specifically?
I mean, talking to people who have to guard him or come up with game plans to try to stop him, he's a master at angles. Now, Dylan Brooks will tell you there's flopping, there's flailing, there's falling, all that kind of thing. But he's so good at creating angles, and you have to respect every pump fake because this guy is the best mid-range shooter in basketball. We're talking about a guard who averaged well over 30 points per game, shooting 55% from the floor, and the vast majority of that is created off the dribble. So the skill and the craft, that combination with the angles, he's going to get to the line a lot.
Dang, man. Meanwhile, the Suns have lost 8 straight playoff games, and they are 9.5-point dogs at home. If you want more on this, because they talk about it all the time, just listen to Tim and his buddies on the Hoop Collective. Thank you.